Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to unpack something I like to call the inside-out cohesion arc of brand building. We're drawing directly from this incredibly fascinating intersection of linguistics, the deep biological insights of neuroscience, and highly practical marketing strategy. Because, whether you're building a company completely from scratch or rethinking an existing organization, understanding how all these layers connect is absolutely vital. So here's the big question, right? Why do some brands stick in our brains forever, while others just fade away? It's a really fascinating puzzle. Think about the products you use every single day. Why do some of their names or logos or messages instantly pop into your mind, while others remain entirely forgettable? Well, to solve this, we need to understand how a successful brand actually acts almost like a living entity, one that connects deeply with human perception. It's not just about slapping a pretty logo on a website. It's about the psychological and linguistic hooks that literally anchor a brand right into our memory.
Here is our roadmap for today. We're going to start with the power of brand narratives, move into finding your brand voice, explore the science of naming, shift from chaos to cohesion, secure those brand assets, and finally, align inside and out.
All right, diving right into Section 1, the power of brand narratives. A truly memorable brand actually doesn't start with a visual logo or a color palette. No, it starts entirely at the abstract core with a compelling story. Before you design anything, you need a well-defined verbal identity. This is basically what gives your brand a soul. It's the framework that ensures consumers interpret your message exactly as you intended. And verbal identity goes way beyond just a catchy tagline. It encompasses the entire personality and tone discernible in every single piece of communication your brand puts out into the world. To really strengthen that verbal identity, you use narrative models. For example, maybe you frame your brand as the rebel underdog challenging the status quo, or maybe you're the wise guide helping the consumer succeed. If your brand taps into these recognizable story frameworks, consumers respond far more positively because the narrative is instantly easy to follow. Storytelling has a profound impact on consumer perception. Honestly, if a brand is struggling to gain traction, sometimes they don't even need to change their product. They just need to conduct a full audit of their communications and pivot to a narrative model that the consumer instantly recognizes and connects with.
Moving on to Section 2, finding your brand voice.
So we know we need a narrative, but how does a brand actually find the exact right words to calibrate its voice for entirely different audiences? Well, the answer lies in listening. You absolutely must analyze consumer language on social media to calibrate your tone. How you speak to a Gen Z consumer on TikTok should be fundamentally different from how you speak to a B2B client on LinkedIn, right? You have to track how the wider industry speaks, monitor how consumers directly talk about your specific brand, and crucially, this is the big one, identify where there is a vocabulary mismatch between you and your market. If you ignore the pre-existing linguistic associations that live permanently on social media, your carefully crafted verbal identity is going to come off as completely inauthentic. And this is exactly where modern text analytics step in. Social media generates an overwhelming, almost chaotic quantity of data. But text analytics tools act as a marketer's secret weapon. They extract real data-driven meaning from all that noise. These programs analyze those massive data sets to pinpoint the exact key phrases associated with your brand and the connotations they carry in the wider marketplace. It's like having a superpower that allows you to fine-tune your voice with incredible precision.
Okay, Section 3, the science of naming. This is where biology meets branding.
We are now elevating marketing straight into brain science. When naming a brand, you are constantly balancing two linguistic forces, phonetic structure and semantic relevance. Phonetic structure is all about biological ease, words that have a rhythmic flow and are physically easy for the human mouth to pronounce. Think apple. On the flip side is semantic relevance, which evokes strong imagery and connects to the core mission. Think Amazon, which instantly conveys vastness and abundance. A truly magnetic name leverages linguistic processing by perfectly balancing this biological ease of speech against powerful semantic meaning. And the crazy thing is, neuroscience actually proves this. Functional MRI studies show that names generating emotional responses literally prime the human brain to encode and retrieve them long-term. When a name triggers positive emotions, the amygdala lights up. That emotional arousal then engages the prefrontal cortex, which handles attention and memory. So a memorable name isn't just clever marketing, it's a literal neurological event happening in your customer's head. This brings us to sound symbolism. The actual physical airflow used to pronounce specific letters subconsciously communicates incredibly specific feelings to the listener. If you want a brand that feels energetic and fast, like Porsche or Jaguar, you use sharp letters, J, P, K, V. But if you want gentle dependability, like Marriott or Hilton, you rely on soft consonants like M, H, W, and L. Your brand name is subconsciously telling a story before the consumer even knows what you sell. How cool is that?
Section 4. From Chaos to Cohesion. Once we have established that deep verbal identity and crafted a neuroscientifically backed name, it is time to translate that abstract soul into a physical, visual expression. A brand kit serves as the ultimate recipe for your design. It unites all those above-the-waterline aesthetic tools, your colors, your typography, your shapes, and symbols. A solid brand kit ensures that every visual choice perfectly reflects the foundational strategy and narrative we just talked about. It takes all the chaotic creative possibilities and streamlines them into a cohesive system.
Which leads us to Section 5, securing your brand assets. Here's the harsh truth. All this creative neuroscience, verbal identity, and brilliant design work is completely worthless if you cannot legally protect it. Before you commit to a brand name and kit, you must meticulously follow these steps through the USPTO federal database. You start with a knockout search for your exact wording, but you can't stop there. You have to expand your search using wildcards, check for alternative spellings, and even anticipate alternative ways people might mispronounce your name. Finally, you look up design codes for your visual elements. You're doing all of this detective work to avoid any likelihood of confusion with an existing live trademark.
And finally, Section 6, aligning inside and out.
For our final step, we look at how to take this newly secured, fully realized brand and effectively communicate it to the world. When taking a brand global, you face a massive challenge. Do you standardize everything for consistency or adapt to local cultures? The most successful brands use a glocal approach. Think of Coca-Cola. They standardize their iconic red logo and core product for a consistent global image. But they deeply adapt their marketing channels and even specific flavors to honor local cultures. It's the perfect balance of global power and local relevance. But maybe the most important part of this alignment is internal. You must enforce your brand's verbal identity with your own team. This is absolutely crucial. If you don't, inconsistency leaks out and ultimately erodes consumer trust. You have to weave your external brand voice into daily staff meetings, company memos, and presentations. From the way your sales team pitches on the phone to how HR recruits new talent, every internal conversation must echo the brand's true voice, governed by clear lines of responsibility. So I'll leave you with that provocative thought. Take a moment today to audit your own organization's cohesion. Does the way your team speaks to each other actually match the carefully crafted narrative you present to your customers? If there is a disconnect, well, you now have the blueprint to fix it. Thank you so much for learning with us in this explainer.